All right, so welcome back to Zombie Squad, and today with me is Shannon Hutchinson. Did I get that right?
Hello. Yeah,
And
Shannon Hutchinson.
all right, and Shannon and I worked together on a film that I've had previous fellow filmmakers from this one film, Josh Taylor's Prom Date. Me and Shannon worked on that, I think, for a couple of weeks, and I found Shannon, I think, on Staff Me Up for that gig.
I answered. It was through Dragon Nook Connects.
Dragon Neck, that's what it
Yeah,
was. Dragon
I
Neck.
love
All
that
right,
site. That's a
yeah.
really great resource.
And I've talked about that a couple of times on this show before. Dragonet Connects is phenomenal, and I started using it for acting because I broke into acting, like 5 years ago. But then they have a crew section, so but we can get into that in a second. So yeah, me and Shannon met. I booked her onto Josh Taylor's Prom Date as a wearer of multiple hats. I think we had you on as a grip maybe, and
It was like between a PA and a grip, somewhere between that.
I think it was maybe key PA. I just booked you as a key PA and had you just wearing multiple hats like usual when it comes to ultra independent. So Shannon, if you don't mind, introduce yourself. Tell us a little about who you are and what you do.
For sure. I'm Shannon Hutchinson. I'm still quite young. I'm not exactly sure where I fit in the whole filmmaking and creative world. I went to school for a little bit for computer science, but then I ended up dropping out because I've got other projects. I've acted in some movies. I've recently been working as a PA in different departments on like a lot bigger projects. I'm not sure what path is going to kind of reveal itself for me.
Sure.
I'm just kind of testing all the waters in the film world and just in creative fields in general. I think when someone's a creative person, they're just creative all around, and they can't help but to dabble in all the different fields. But I just turned 21 in quarantine actually, and I did a year at Temple University in Philadelphia, and I'm hoping to go back to school at University of South Carolina, continuing my computer science degree.
Okay. Computer science, huh?
Yeah.
So yeah, you're I just turned 40 in the quarantine, and you're not alone. You're never too young to kind of, dabble into other things, because I have a degree in production, film and TV production, and I've been doing production for maybe 15 years now, but I decided to dabble into acting to fill in the schedule. There was certain roles, law enforcement, military roles, because of my military background, that I knew I could pull that off real easy, and that kind of expanded. But then the acting, gave me an opportunity to network and then meet more filmmakers and then get more crew work, and then more crew work. Someone say, "Hey, you look like a cop." Well, hey, throw me in as a cop role, and so again with you, it's still trying to find yourself, sure, but never always leave yourself open for new opportunities and to like experiment and to dabble. And computer science is probably the way to go, especially now. Right now, I wish I got into like IT certs and things of that nature, because a couple of buddies of mine, they're still working from home, and I'm not, because they're still doing the internet security or the government database security, all that sort of deal, IT security that they've been doing for decades. And had I gotten into that, so give and take, it all depends on what you want to do, what you're good at, things of that nature. And there's nothing wrong with being a jack of all trades and having two main gifts, two main I don't know, strategies or career
like areas
paths.
Of focus. Yeah.
Areas of focus. Exactly. Yeah. Thank you. Areas of focus. But that's awesome. So eventually going back for computer science.
Yeah.
Awesome. And where was that?
University of South Carolina.
Okay. Great. And you went to Temple. So didn't M. Night go to Temple?
Maybe. I know that. I think Hall and Oates went to Temple.
Okay.
Something like that. Or maybe the people from Fleetwood Mac, some one of those famous groups. I don't
Okay.
know of him. Maybe no, I think he did. I'm not sure. Yes, he did, because he makes all of his movies in Philadelphia, or he at
Okay.
least was in Philadelphia.
Okay. Okay. Well, maybe I don't know.
I don't know.
That's awesome. But yeah. So thanks for joining us. So how would you say right now professionally you've been impacted by this whole shut-in quarantine deal?
Well, I moved. I've done some TV shows and stuff in kind of the Southeast, and I moved to the Southeast particularly because I knew the shows were coming up and trying to work on that stuff. And I met a lot of people from there, and that's where my network was. So, like a few months ago, I moved down to the Southeast to work more in production, and I had stuff lined up, but everything shut down. Just like that. It's one of the first things to go. Everyone's with each other every single day, all hours of the day, hundreds of people. There's not much you can do about that. So I have an apartment that I just set up, that I just left to come back home with my family in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
That I had to leave. I had a lot of jobs lined up that I said either some of them have been pushed, but a lot of them have just been canceled because what can you do?
Yeah. Yeah. Myself included. My big money maker right now in the last couple of years has been live streaming conferences, seminars, events, these big things at hotels, Microsoft or Apple at, the Marriott, and they might have all their breakouts and all their main sessions filmed and streamed and that sort of thing. So that is what I did quite a bit of for years. And luckily one of the rosters, because I've been full-time freelance, forever, one of my rosters figured out a way to do it through Zoom. And so through our same platform, our online platform, or sending it to their YouTube, some clients have it sent to their YouTube Live. We figured out a way to patch in a Zoom and do a Zoom thing that way. So we are finding these new ways of innovating our service to meet the demand right now with people just stuck in their, apartments.
Yeah, I think we're also finding ways that when people make excuses as to why they can't do something or come, we realize that there's a way you could have done that.
Right.
All these new innovations and ways of communicating.
And I think this is really going to show us a lot of new innovative ways of communicating or getting things done in the future, even when the floodgates open and we're allowed to, we don't have to be distanced, we can congregate and everything is, what we know as being back to normal, we still are able to remember, back, 6 months ago when we were quarantined, we were able to pull it off this way. We can still do it, but maybe even better now, and so on and so forth. So this is definitely going to, help us figure out some new tools to put in the toolbox. And so, yeah. Awesome. So you said you had to leave your apartment.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sucks. And so I guess you hightailed it back to your parents. And so how would you say everything's impacted there? What's life with your parents? I don't think I've talked to anybody that just moved back in with their parents yet. So.
Well, it's been complicated because throughout the last few years of my life, it's what I've been doing, because I go to a project for 3 months, I get an apartment there for 3 months, and then I don't know where I'm going to be next. So I just come back to my parents' house after a project, wait till I get the next project and go. So I'm not paying for multiple apartments at the same time, because since I work as a PA, I don't really have housing paid for. So once I get over that hump, then maybe things will be different. So this is something I've done quite a few times over the past few years between projects. So it's mostly just normal, but I have younger sisters. They're here, and I kind of commission them to make films with me and do little projects who they're not totally up for all the time.
the TikTok stuff and the Instagram stuff?
That's what they like to do, but I like to do a little bit more. Let's record a song. We'll all learn instruments, and then we'll be a family band. They're like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah. No, I understand. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely healthy, I guess, for you guys to do that. And I know maybe some people, you don't really want to do this, you don't want to do that. Um, I can agree because me and the wife just brought home a baby, the beginning of March, our first
Oh
kid.
man.
And it's been unique, just being stuck in the house 24/7 with each other, with the kid. And we thought, and a lot of people are thinking, wow, this is the most opportune time to get so much stuff done around the house. I said, well, yeah, after 2 loads of laundry a day, maybe emptying out 1 trash can a day, and taking out, uh, putting this together, putting that together, fixing this, and then not to mention every 2 hours and 45 minutes on the dot is a diaper change and a bottle feeding.
Hmm.
All day, every day, every 2 hours, 45 minutes. So once he starts, screaming at the top of his lungs, we know, okay, baby, diaper change, baby bottle, play with him for a little bit, calm him down. What the hell was I working on? I got to do the laundry all over again because it was sitting in the washer, just getting, like, I'm one of those weirdos that, like, once the wash is done, I have to throw it in the dryer immediately. I don't want it sitting kind of like getting moldy
Yeah, I guess that smell.
you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So yeah, I think you're kind of lucky where you have some siblings. I'm assuming the youngest is still a teen, right?
My youngest sister is 11 years old. She just turned 11. So I'm kind of more in that kid atmosphere. I'm allowed to kind of be a kid again. And I mean, that's why I came home, because when I was in my apartment, it was me and a few other roommates I had just met in a small, tiny apartment where I didn't know anyone.
Mm-hmm.
So it's great to be back home where there's space to walk around and just have people to talk to and interact with all the time.
Yeah.
I would have lost my sanity if I didn't.
Right. And I think you're blessed with, a different dynamic. They're not 5-year-olds, not infants. The youngest one's 11. So it's still has enough maturity to not be a complete headache, but at the same time,
Yeah.
it's still young, might be into cartoons and comics and
we play games
and toys. And then the next one is, into maybe TV shows and wants to do like rambunctious kind of pranky, semi-immature but pranky stuff. And then there's you want to do music, you want to do more artistic stuff. And there's this interesting dynamic to where you can still relax and kind of be a child again, and then also it'll help them kind of develop and get into more mature things. So
exactly. I keep trying to force my sister, who's close to my age, to like watch these things. I was like, you have to watch this. If you don't watch it, I'm gonna force you to watch it. I'm gonna sit down and watch the pilot at least.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I guess we'll delve into, I don't know if I addressed impacted personally, but so you said you're with your parents. Like, how's everything with your parents? Are they healthy? And
Yeah, my mom actually works as an occupational therapist in a hospital, and even though it's not necessarily related to like people with coronavirus, they just have all needed to kind of become nurses and work with those people anyways, just because there just isn't enough nurses to do that. So most days she doesn't, but some days she works directly with patients like that. So we're all kind of cautious about going out and doing other stuff, because we realize we may be more susceptible since we have a hospital worker in our house. But it's kind of like a prouding thing. Like, that's so cool that I get to be a part of it, even just being like a family member working. My dad works remotely too. So we're all doing good. Just hoping we don't catch anything. We're all getting very bored though.
Yeah. I definitely look for my opportunities to get out and run errands, drive the car. Just driving the car is, like a fun activity now. It used to just be
yeah,
like,
it's a treat.
It used to just be, the chore. It used to just be a mode of transportation, a means to an end. But now just the driving itself is this opportunity to do something that you don't do every day now, because that's kind of the norm now. And then, go to the beer and wine store, the grocery store, 7-Eleven, go to the wife's parents who are right down the street to, pick up some stuff that they have for us, whatever the case may be, and just take my time doing that. Usually it was like, all right, hurry up and go do this, or you go do it, or I don't feel like doing it. Now I want to do it, and I'm going to take my time and enjoy it. And she's texting me, "What's taking so long?" I'm enjoying the scenery. I'm taking my time. It takes time for me to put on my mask and my gloves. If I went to the beer and wine store, I'm hand sanitizing my rubber gloves after. I'm keeping the rubber gloves on. I'm taking all these extra precautions, not only for me and the wife, but for, a 7-week-old, about to be an 8-week-old, and all these other factors. And I don't, doing it out of concern for others around me, but it's just all these multiple steps. So I'm taking my time just to enjoy the time outside the house. And so,
well, I found that those little things that I have to do, it's so much harder to do. I'm the person who thrives on being busy. So if I'm really busy, I can accomplish those little tasks so much easier. But I've got like 3 things I need to do. And it seems so hard to do even one of them, just because it's just such a weird thing that I think a lot of people are struggling with, where it's like there's only so few things to do, but it's so difficult to even do them.
Yeah, exactly. And I think what's happening is being shut in is just this automatic switch of complacency. Oh, now that I'm shut in, and I know that I'm going to be shut in for a month and a half, I know, or maybe even 2 months, or maybe even longer. But I think at first when we were shut in, we were told roughly a month and a half, something like that. Oh yeah, that's plenty of time for me to knock out this paint job, knock out this cleaning job, knock out, fixing up this closet. And the next thing you know, 2 weeks go by and you haven't touched any of that.
Yeah.
Because you just told yourself. So it's kind of like keeping yourself in that mindset that I don't have a month and a half. And I've kept that mindset with a lot of chores. I've kept that mindset with a lot of side projects, passion projects, film and TV passion projects, some stuff that I shot that I'm starting to wrap up finally, and edit, and some scripts that I want to write, or some outlines that I want to write, and I've just been knocking it out, and it's just piecemealing it. But the first thing out of my mouth, I'm in a different situation where the first thing out of my mouth is, honey, do you need anything? No. What about the kid? Oh, the kid's sleeping. Do you want to watch something with me? Well, I was just thinking of maybe watching something myself. Okay. And then boom, run downstairs, get on my laptop or get on my editing computer and just start killing stuff. And that's the first thought. That's the fourth thought that comes into my mind what is there to do? First things first, kid, wife, stuff around the house. And then the fourth thing is like these projects that I want to put a gift wrap on finally. And yeah, so I think, you're not the only one in suffering from this, I guess, for lack of a better term. Maybe it's just this complacency, this ease that, hey, look, government told me to stay inside. There's nothing I can do about that. I have all these little projects that I'm gonna knock out. I got all these big projects I'm gonna knock out, whatever the case may be. I got plenty of time to do that. And the next thing you know, week goes by and, haven't done anything. So I think
if there's no deadline, it's so hard to
absolutely
really do something. I think that's the thing.
Self deadlines. Yeah, absolutely. You were saying, you mentioned there's like different pilots and things you're trying to force your siblings to watch. What are your siblings anyway? Brothers, sisters, what do you got?
I've got 2 younger sisters.
2 younger
one
sisters.
18, just turned 18 in quarantine.
Okay.
And the other 11.
So yeah, you did say sisters. Yeah. So 11, 18, 21. It's pretty decent dynamic. Okay.
Yeah.
So you said you were forcing different pilots. What have you been watching? What have you been trying to force them to watch?
Oh, I got my sister into Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Okay.
Which I think is a great show because nothing bad really happens to anyone. It's very much an environmental. You just look at the set design and the quippy dialogue and the great aesthetic of everything and the fun nature of everyone and just have fun in their lives. It's a good uplifting show.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. I just watched I haven't seen The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. I do want to watch it because it's based on a true story, isn't it? One of the first. It's inspired by a true story.
Oh, I didn't know that. I don't, not that I know of, but
I
that's probably true.
because I've heard from others that it's probably I didn't exactly hear it's based on a true story, but it's kind of inspired by some of the first female comedians from way back 50s 60s, the early Joan Rivers types. Uh what was her name, Jerry Stiller's wife, Ben Stiller's mom, those, like back in the day, the old
Yeah.
school Leah, Lucille Ball
Mm.
and Joan Rivers and Carol Channing, I believe, if I'm Carol Channing,
I'm not sure.
Carol Burnett,
Yeah.
just the old, like, back in the day, like the classic female comedians that, they struggled twice as much to get an audience. They had to be careful about what they talked about because, they might get, blacklisted or ousted and things of that nature. So yeah, that's definitely on my list to watch. Me and the wife have been watching, Schitt's Creek.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
And Little Fires Everywhere. But I just turned on. It's again back to that schedule. Every day has this schedule. So by myself right now, I'm watching Hunters on Prime with Pacino about Nazi hunters in the 70s. But every night I'll stay up late and I'll take the kid. I have like a whole separate smaller bedroom set up in the lounge in the edit suite for the kid. And, when I'm feeding him, I'll watch a movie. And then when I put him down, I'll edit or work on something. But I just can't believe I forgot it. Fantasy Island, that's what it was. So the reboot, Blumhouse's reboot of Fantasy Island was really, really outstanding. I'm familiar for the most part with the old school show, with the little actor, Tattoo, and Ricardo Montalban, I think, if I'm not mistaken, was the guy that ran the island. I hope I got the actor's name right. I think it was Ricardo Montalban. But Michael Pena took over as the guy that as Rourke, the guy that runs the island. Very darker take on Fantasy Island, very horror and suspense thriller, as opposed to, the show was very, Knight Rider-esque and Love Boat-esque. It was more fantasy, but this one much darker turn. But the production was phenomenal. Action, it was emotional. It was really, really, really good reboot remake of the show Fantasy Island. And but Hunters, I don't think I've seen a show like this before. It's definitely a different show, Hunters, with Pacino, and there's a whole slew of other folks in it. But yeah, I think we're and I brought this up time and time again on the show. I think we're blessed in a time where we have the streaming stuff, we have this online stuff. If this quarantine happened in the 80s or 90s, people would be going nuts.
Yeah, for sure.
Because there's only so many VHSs that you can physically have in a house.
Yeah.
Even in the early 2000s, there's only so many DVDs that you can physically have in a house, or video game cassettes. But now with video games, I think with the Switch, I think with the new, when they rebooted the NES, it's all digital. It's all digital downloads, streaming, Hulu, Prime, Netflix, just to name the top three. It's all just streaming, YouTube, so I think we are blessed to have the tools already in place to keep our minds off of it, because
absolutely,
because physically is one thing. I know the numbers are rising with COVID. I know the numbers of infected, the numbers of deceased are rising, but I don't know what the studies are of. I have a couple of friends and colleagues that are first responders, and they're telling me that domestics are skyrocketing. And again, I think you're lucky to where you have sisters of such a ranging age group, to to change your mindset every day instead of just being stuck. And you've got your parents with you, and you're going to treat your parents differently than maybe just a husband and wife alone in a house would treat each other. Your parents are going to treat you differently than they would treat each other, and having you there, they're going to treat each other differently than if it was just them stuck in their house, stuck in their minds. And again, I don't know them. I don't know a lot of these other people and what's triggering them, but you know, me and my wife are lucky we got this baby. So we're not going to she's not going to hit me. I'm not going to be screaming at her at the top of my lungs because there's this baby. So there's this automatic switch to put on a control measure.
Yeah.
And even before the kid, we weren't screaming and physical or verbally abusive to each other. But now there is that extra measure as a buffer, as a, you know, as a sign to go off, stop. Instead of a stop sign, it's this baby, you know, this baby can't grow up in a negative environment, especially now. Because I
think a lot of people are going through that. They've never been locked in a situation with someone else before, and they just don't know what to do.
Yeah. And I've been deployed once, and I've seen it happen, and there was, you know, 30 of us, and people have, you know, started to crack. And it's just go outside, go to the gym. There's a pool, go to the pool. You know, there's video games to play, there's movies to watch, go do something else. And yeah. And so, especially now, so it's tricky to find a healthy balance and to find these tools. And I think you're lucky that you've got that. So is it just Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel? Anything else? Any movies?
I've mostly been going through, it's so funny, I always do this, going through and watch stuff that I've watched before instead of watching new things. So rewatch Sherlock, the BBC Sherlock. That's such a good show.
Okay. BBC
I really like
Sherlock.
that one.
Okay.
Something my whole family will agree on. We don't agree on a lot. We watch a lot of TV together, a lot of movies together. We watch, actually, I think most of what we watched is digital, stuff we have physically. Our physical DVDs. We'll just pop in a DVD instead of streaming, which is always funny.
You'll actually pop in DVDs, hard copy DVDs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We love our DVDs.
No, that's cool. No, I totally agree with what you're saying. On Friday the 13th, I watched all the Friday the 13th. I've seen them maybe 20 times already. And I try to make an effort. It's kind of like a ritual, like a tradition to watch, you know, to binge watch the Friday the 13th franchise on Friday the 13th. And we had that in the quarantine. Pluto TV has a channel called 80s Rewind. I always find myself just going right back to 80s Rewind, and I get bored with some of the new stuff or trying to track down new stuff, but it's and a lot of it, you know, half of these 80s movies might be stuff I haven't watched. Never got around to seeing, you know, Trancers or Trancers 2, which are some obscure sci-fi action movies from the 80s. And for some reason, I never got around to seeing it. So now it's pull the trigger. Plus, it's a bit of a nostalgia of these movies that I did grow up with, but I didn't specifically see this one or specifically see that one. So yeah, I totally agree. Always reverting back to some old school stuff that you've seen before. You know it's good. That's why you watch it again. That sort of deal. Like a Tarantino binge or a Jackie Chan binge or something like that. Yeah, absolutely. What would you say is next on your agenda? Say for the next 2 months, any projects you're working on, any scripts, anything you're writing. You mentioned you've got university coming up. What would you say for the next 2 months you have on your plate as far as, you know, some goals or an agenda for yourself?
I kind of live my life only looking a month or so in advance, and right now all I can see is quarantine. I'm trying to do some projects in this time. I really love making little films and just doing little projects, but what I found is that I thrive almost exclusively on outside stimulus. I'll be inside trying to think of something to do. I can't think of anything. I'll go outside, take a walk, and all of a sudden I have all these ideas, or I'll do one little thing outside in the world and all of a sudden I have all these ideas. So it's kind of hard for me to really find some kind of muse or find real ideas being stuck in the house.
Mm-hmm.
That is a big, difficult part of it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know I have, I recently did a movie a few months ago. I was an actor in it. I was the lead female, the ingenue, I guess, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
I did that with some cool people. Judd Nelson played my dad. That was fun.
Judd Nelson?
Yeah.
Oh, no shit.
He
All
was
right.
he was really cool. Brian Bumgardner, who was Kevin in The Office, he was
Okay.
our kind of, it was like a band movie. It was our band manager in that, and that should be coming out soon, maybe in a few months, maybe a little bit longer. This whole time, this whole quarantine time with a lot of productions being shut down is really good for movies like that, I guess, that haven't come out yet, because, you know, soon these companies, these online media companies, won't have all of the content in a few months that they thought that they would have. So I think it's a good time to have content that you're holding on to.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know, because you go on Netflix, just thinking of the top three and how much content they have. I don't think we're going to run out of content, and this quarantine could go on for 6 months, and we're still going to be plenty of content.
That is true.
There
But
is
they did have a lot of
so
things
much.
lined up that they had to cut filming for by at least
Sure,
a year.
sure,
But
but
I think maybe a lot of things that would have been in theaters are kind of trying to reach out to them now, and
mm-hmm.
so I think they may have the upper hand in that scenario too.
Not to mention Disney Plus. Yeah,
Oh yeah,
Disney Plus just threw Frozen 2 just straight onto Disney Plus
that was a good move.
because of it. Yeah, and I think I got Disney Plus early because of The Mandalorian.
Mm-hmm, of course.
And and then I think because of, you know, what Kevin Feige was announcing at one of the Comic Cons, 3 different series, maybe 4 different series on Disney Plus. But just The Mandalorian alone, I jumped on that early bird special for the year for Disney Plus. But I think Frozen 2 just, you know, probably tripled their Disney Plus subscribers just to have Frozen 2 direct on Disney Plus instead of in the theaters. And I noticed that me and the wife also watched The Invisible Man that just came out the same way, because they dumped it onto on demand immediately as opposed to the theater. And I think they did the same thing with The Hunt, which I still have to watch, and Fantasy Island. Fantasy Island, I think they did as well. And so that's what they're doing, is that you know, the theaters, all these studios and their theater slate that was full for the theater, they can still do it just with on demand or straight to a streaming service.
Yeah.
And I think they're still going to do all right doing it that way. The product's still going to get seen and get rented or purchased through digital means. You know, my mom every once in a while still rents something on Prime. You know, certain titles are Prime charges, you know, a $2, $3 rental fee digitally. So, you know, just about anybody can do that with these brand spanking new movies that would be in the theater right now.
Yeah. Well, I heard some of the ones that would be in the theater are like more expensive to rent, like $20, which I guess is fair. That's how
fair.
much you'd be paying for a family to go see it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but I heard a lot of movies also are just like pushing back, instead of releasing it on digital, they're just pushing back their dates even by like a year. I think the new, when I say Fast and Furious got pushed back a year.
That's probably because they're not finished in production.
That's true. If they're doing pickups or whatever, they don't have time to do it. But I know there's a lot of actual movies that are just kept pushing the date of release, so who knows when they're going to get released.
Right, because and I think the reason why that is that it's still in production, or it's, you know, it's a second unit or pickups or what have you. Like, yeah, the same with the Marvel slate. You know, the Phase 5 of the Marvel movies, because If anybody knows, I'm a huge Marvel and DC movie fan, but so yeah, Kevin Feige just completely changed all the dates and pretty much bumped everything back 6 to 9 months. But that's because they're still filming, or they haven't even started filming, because in the last 10 years, studios would put out a release date of a movie before they even start filming.
Yeah, yeah.
We're going to spend 6 months shooting it, 3 months editing it, 3 months packaging it, and so that's a year. And so they can announce something in 2018 to be released in 2020. And so, but now they were probably, you know, about to start production or halfway through, and then they got to pull production. That's why it's getting dropped. That's why it's getting bumped six months to a year.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
The release dates. Yeah. So I mean, they've been doing that for a while, so that's why all these dates are getting bumped. But if it's getting thrown to, but if it's in the can, then yeah, it's gonna get thrown to Disney Plus or thrown to Prime for a fee, thrown to basic on demand or iTunes. Is it even called iTunes anymore?
They changed the iTunes that we know and love to music, whatever that is.
Apple Music now.
Yeah.
So whatever their way of putting out movies, you know, iTunes or whatever it's called now. Yeah. So that's the case. Cool. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, working on these little projects, filling in time, and I'm a big advocate of taking advantage of this downtime.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, I'm even slightly a victim of this complacency where like, I'm not going to work out today, and I'm a little tired, the kid this or the chores that. I'm not going to go run. I'm not going to lift weights today. I don't have to edit that one episode of this series. And so I really have to jump on myself and stay on top of myself to take advantage of this time. Because my goal for the next month is to have absolutely zero to do, absolutely nothing to do except for watch TV. I have because I'm kind of lucky right now to where I've had these 4 different projects that I shot, and now I have to edit it. And so just steadily do that and keep my time filled. But at the same time, I have my personal deadlines with my channels that I want to put this stuff out. So my goal is to just knock it out, stay on this rigid, rigorous schedule, so that what do you got? What's going on? I'm just on my laptop, either writing something or the baby, watching something, or just waiting for the floodgates to open, so that these things that I've completed, I can pitch them to something bigger. I can pitch them to bigger studios or to bigger, you know, bigger, better producers to make something bigger and better. But my goal is to like just knock everything out so that I've got absolutely nothing to do. But of course, knowing myself, it's like, okay, what's the next thing to do? Because I think that's really kind of like where we as artists, it's just like, what's the next thing? Got to jump on that next thing. You know, the work never stops.
Exactly.
Yeah. The love of the art never stops. Yeah. So if there's one point, one bit of advice, one point, one idea, one even, you know, one word that you would want to put out to our viewers watching, you know, but generally one bit of advice, what would that be?
I think a good way to stay sane is to just read a book. I think the overwhelmness of digital content and just being able to half watch it is something that kind of can make you insane at times. But I think reading a book can kind of ground you a little bit more. And it's a bigger world and a different way to consume that people don't do as often these days. And I think it's a good time to do it. You can kind of force yourself to. So I'm going to say read a book to do something new.
Great. Awesome. That's really good advice. Yeah, I haven't had that yet. And I like that. And I have a couple of books lying around. Maybe I'll do that. You know, it's funny. I've had a couple of guests on here and we were talking about that. Like, is there a book you're reading? And they're like, I haven't read something in a while.
Yeah.
and you're still young to where when I was in my early 20s, I was zipping through the Dark Tower series by Stephen King. And I remember, to the best of my knowledge, that was the last thing I really was into reading, like really like stuck my nose to the pages and didn't leave, was the Dark Tower series. And at some point, as the gigs grew, as you know, the career kind of evolved and progressed, it was just and realizing I'm not a writer as far as an author, as far as a book writer goes. I'm more of a filmmaker. I tended to just watch more than read. But you're right. I guess it could be a perishable skill to like really just sit down with the discipline to read and engulf yourself in a book.
Yeah, it's definitely like a different part of the brain.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, are there any links, any socials, any plugs you want to put out there so we can see your stuff coming out soon or already out?
Yeah, I would say I did a movie, Assassinaut. It just got released on Amazon Prime, and you can buy it on Blu-ray. That was really fun. And then the movie Electric Jesus should be coming out soon in a few months. That'll be really fun. And then, yeah, I'll say for social, my Instagram is at Shannon.Hutchinson.
Great. All right, Shannon. Well, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah,
And
thanks for having me.
that's awesome. So check out her links in the description below. To my viewers out there, like, subscribe, share, comment, thumbs up if you love it, thumbs down, I don't care. And ring the bell for notifications, and check us out next time.